Hey, so I went to Three Rocks Beach there by RItz Carlton on Half Moon Bay to see the structure there on the beach that is a bit of an anomaly. And here we see the last remaining steel column in this structure. I suppose the naive approach would be to regard this thing as some sort of beach access, but there's various anomalies with that. As you can see, this is a very old, weathered piece of metal here where it has been welded together, multiple segments, and here we can see it connecting to various horizontal columns, not in square patterns, but at other angles. And here's a beam in the back, a column in the back, and two beams. We can see rebar coming out here, so this was a concrete and rebar type structure. So some kind of, reinforcing on this concrete. Now moving in closer to see this weld point. Alright, and the top, we see all kinds of rebar coming off of the bottom portion of it. So there was probably a down structure as well as a horizontal. And we see this beam go across. Now there's the Ritz-Carlton up above. And from there you cannot see this structure. And then looking around here, you can see this is separate from the rock face, but it's quite connected. Although it is soft sandstone type material there that is touching. We see the column go into the dirt, and we cannot even see the footer. And now over here, the structure continues to this column, which appears cut off from the bottom, and so it's held by the structures above and potentially the back wall. But looking closer at how this just got cut off, of course with all the weathering it's hard to determine. Now I took a look here at this. At first I thought these were wood, since there's all of these carved portions. But then you see the rebar coming out, and so there's rebar over there. So it would appear that that column is being held, and it's got rebar coming through it, suggesting that it must be concrete or something else that needs that reinforcing rebar, which would not be wood. And you can see it's splitting, and there's multiple layers. Now here's the last column, and it has a lot more of these scoop type of marks on it, which had me thinking it was some sort of tree trunk. But this one too, we can see the rebar up at the top when we get there. Now here you almost see these striations, these layers, like it was poured in buckets of concrete as it went up. And to show we are right here on the beach, so it's not likely that a structure this big, built right on the beach, was intended for the beach except to get down to it, because the weathering would be great. Now there you can see the rebar sticking up just with a bit of plant giving us enough gap to see it. And then there's some more weathering on this column. So this is quite a long column to just be going on down further with no evidence of what the ground floor looks like. And the other one that's suspended is not quite this long, but it shows that there is quite a bit of successful concrete work. And so just going down to the bottom, you can see it's quite some distance down to the beach, and so it's indeterminate how far down it would go, but presumably at least as far as the the steel column over there. So as you can see, there's nothing else here along the beach that looks anything like this. And we're immediately on the water. This little patch of sand looks like it completely goes away once the tide comes in. So continuing on, we can see enough of it here that there's some sense of the structure, although older pictures show that this was quite more complex than it is today. Now, going around to the side, you can see a bit of plumbing over there to the left. It looks like a drainage, modern type of a thing. And looking at this base, it is still going down further into this, and this is not the actual base foot of that column there. So looking around, one of the pictures showed something that looked like a cave, and so I wanted to see if I could find that, but it looks like it was just an exposure problem, because here we can actually see that it's just the structure. Now, being that this further back column that's almost completely hidden, it must have also been exposed enough that it could be poured and built, so much of this other sand that we're seeing simply could not have been here when it got built. Or it had been tunneled down to be built and then had this area wash away. So it looks like what we're seeing doesn't match the history necessarily. Now, looking over, we are right here on the RItz Carlton golf course area, and there's active golfers. Not knowing that right here on the other side is a structure that isn't easily explained, and there's that irrigation, and a larger pipe is over there as well. And a last shot, you can see all of the different, 5 or 6 different things sticking out of the ground there. Some coming out of the greenery. At least 4 different points. So this was a very complex structure. Certainly not standard rectangles. But as we continue on, we see it certainly stops here. Whatever it was is not something that continued on. And profile view, we can see that none of this lines up exactly. They're all different depths. As we go around, these columns don't line up, and they don't form any sort of boardwalk type of a structure that would be going out, since they simply don't line up. And again, it's quite high off of the ground, so it's buried by sand even further. And so since we can't see the footer, there's a lot less we can learn. And thank you.